Hi all, welcome back to a new post today, and I hope you all are doing really wonderfully well. And let's today speak about something really very important, as we are already facing the El Nino year and we are going to see a year ahead with high heat waves, and definitely there's going to be a demand for dairy products like ice creams, buttermilk and whatnot. But the world's largest dairy producer is facing a dairy problem at home itself. So let's look at what the dairy sector is actually going through. And the government is now considering to import dairy products after, let me tell you, 2011. So after a gap of almost 10 years, the government is now considering to import dairy products while it is the world's largest producer itself. Let's look into the reasons. What is the reason for the rise in prices? What is the demand and supply situation? What's the reason for the shortage in milk production at home? And what's the future like? So let's get into the issue quickly. Now, the milk has seen rising prices recently, and the government is now looking to import dairy products. So the milk had seen a rise in almost 8 rupees at a jump, and recently even the Monetary Policy Committee chaired by the RBI governor had said that the retail inflation is because of the high prices of milk in the country. And also recently we have heard of how the cattle has been facing the lumpy skin diseases. So this is one of the factor. Now milk is seeing a rise in prices, and the government, I told you, is looking to import. So the world's largest producer, we are looking at imports now at home. Now let me tell you that this status of the world's largest dairy or milk producer was given by the Food and Agriculture Organization Corporate Statistical Office database, and that was given for 2021 and 22. Let me tell you that we contribute 24% of the global milk production totally. Now there are a host of factors that have led to the high cost of milk prices recently, and such as high cost of feed which we give the farmers, like fodder, etc., inclement weather, disease outbreak, that is the lumpy skin disease, and the demand and supply mismatch that is pushing India, the world's largest dairy producer, now to consider imports at home itself. In 2021-22 itself, India's milk production stood at somewhere around 221 million tons, and this data was given by the the Department of Dairy Production itself. So while it was 208 million tons in the previous year. Now India's milk production remained stagnant last year due to the lumpy skin disease in the cattle. India is also looking at importing dairy products like butter and ghee if needed, if there is a supply constraint for such for items, and if there is a stagnant milk production that is going to happen in the coming fiscal year as well. So the let me tell you that the country's milk production has remained stagnant in 2022-23, that is the last year. So now we have entered into 23-24, and mainly due to the lumpy skin disease in the cattle. While the domestic demand grew at 8 to 9% in the same period, there was a shortage of supply, and also this is experienced because of the post-pandemic rebound in demand as well. There's also, added to the lumpy skin diseases, there is also a rise in the fodder prices that has led to milk inflation, that has contributed to the overall retail inflation in the country. Now there is a problem for fodder supply, as fodder cropping area has remained stagnant, but on the other hand the dairy sector has been growing annually at 6%. So there is a mismatch between the growing of the dairy sector and the land that is available for fodder. India last imported dairy products in 2011, and this will be the first time after 2011 if the government is going to consider to import the dairy products. Now milk prices rose around 8 rupees in 22. This happened after almost 9 years. So it was 9 years ago that the prices had increased to such an extent. So let's see what explains the reason for this inflation and what are the multiple factors that are contributing to it. So the most important for this is because of the crash in prices following the COVID lockdown. Now after the COVID lockdown was imposed, there were close of businesses, social gatherings, etc., and demand destruction led to the dairies to slash the procurement prices of cow milk and buffalo milk. The procurement prices is which the dairies give the farmers the price for taking the milk from them. Now this was accompanied by ex-factory prices of skim milk powder collapsing along with the cow butter and ghee. Now farmers then started to respond to the situation by shrinking their size of herd. So they started to reduce the number of cattle that they were taking care of, as the milk prices could not support their feeding and also maintenance of the animals. And also they started to begin underfeeding them. So they underfed the calves which were there especially, and the pregnant and dry cattle, and they could not give proper milk at that time. Now the calves that were underfed during the lockdown period because of the low procurement prices now are become the cows, that is the full-fed breeds which can give milk, and because of the underfed which they faced, they are not able to survive properly. Many of them are died. They are becoming vulnerable to diseases, and also they have become poor milkers as well. And this is being proved because of the data that the ministry and the department is getting because of the low procurement after the lockdown from the dairy. So they have been reporting low procurement of milk and low even supply of milk from the farmers, which they have seen a year-on-year drop. So almost like 50 to 20% for the cooperative federations that they have accounted, and they have said especially in the south, that is Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. What are the supply side factors? Now these are the main factors. What are the supply? On the supply side factors, there has been an increase in the cost of the cattle feed. So it has increased from 16 rupees per kg to around 23-25 kgs in from 2021 to 2022 on 1 year, and on the back of more expensive ingredients like cotton seed, rapeseed, groundnut extraction, soya bean meal, maize, the oiled rice bran, molasses, all of this which goes to feed the cattle have now increased their prices. So their prices have seen a spike. While on the other hand, the farmers got less procurement prices, they had to spend more for the fees, for the feed that they had to provide to the cattle. So they did two things: they underfed the cattle, and also they reduced the size of the cattle that they were maintaining. The availability of straw also, the wheat straw was very poor in 2021-22, and fodder also was very poor because of incessant rains, especially in the south during the October 2021-22, which did not allow the grass to grow fully, and this has also been another issue. So two sides: increase in the price of the feed, and number two is the non-availability of proper fodder. That's because of the climatic patterns also, that is the incessant rains that we have seen. On top of this, there was the outbreak now of the lumpy skin diseases among the cattle from September 2022 onwards, and this impacted the milk output further. This further impacted the supply in the market. So what are the demand side factors now? On the demand side, number one, after the lifting of the lockdown restrictions, there was a spike in economic activity all of a sudden. There was a spike in demand, but the supply could not match the demand. This was exacerbated by India exporting. So along with the shortage at home, India also exported almost 33,000 tons of milk fat in 2021 and 22, and 13,000 tons in April 2022, and this led to a further shortage back home. Therefore, high exports of butter, ghee and other milk fat enabled the soaring of international prices. They have also led to domestic shortage at home. So this is the factors that have led to the increase shortage in supply, the increase in prices, and why the government now is considering to actually import the dairy products after a whopping of 10 years, that's 2011, and in spite of being the largest dairy supply milk producer in the world according to FAO. So what's the future like? Now the calving season, or the flush for the animals where the milk of the cow flows increases from the udders, generally begins in the month of September, and that's the time that the temperature falls a little bit, and also there is high humidity, which improves the fodder cum straw production as well from the monsoon rain and harvesting of the kharif crop. The calves therefore the calvings therefore peak up in winter and continue up to March and April before the onset of the summer. The flush months are also when the dairies usually convert whatever surplus milk milk that they get into the skim milk powder, the butter, ghee, etc. And those in turn are used for reconstituting during the lean summer season when the supply is less, when the animals produce less, and also when the demand is more because of the hot summer season for curd, lassi, ice cream, etc. So now we are facing that shortage now because of the past actions of the farmers, that is about underfeeding of the calves, less production of milk, and added to this is the lumpy skin diseases. And now this year we are having a El Nino year, so there are going to be heat waves. Definitely there's going to be more shortage in the coming months of summer, and this definitely I think will add up to the next season as well. So a shortage of milk, more specifically fat, is a point of concern at this time when dairies would ordinarily be building up their stocks for the summer, and since that's not happening, therefore they are demanding the government to import the products from outside, and the government is looking to reduce the import duty on them so that that can be available for a lesser price back at home. So hopefully the domestic production should recover by the next flush season, that is by this September season, and then the farmers then will be again enthused to have enough milk for their animals, and therefore there will be no dearth of feed and fodder, especially if we get good rains. So we should really pray that this El Nino year should really not be so harsh on us that we go out of fodder for the animals as well. So I hope this information was really helpful to you all to know why the world's largest milk producer is looking at importing dairy products back at home. And if you really found this helpful, please do like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to comment, and I shall meet you in my next post. Until then, happy learning.